What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today I thought I'd answer a question older than the Forerunners themselves. Which Halo has the best campaign? Just like all my other videos, this one will be based entirely on pure facts, no subjective opinions. If you disagree with me, please leave immediately, because I am always correct.
Damn right I am.
The series has seen its fair share of ups and downs, but one thing has remained common.
Kicking ass in outer space? Wish you were here.
And with Halo Infinite still far off in the horizon, I thought it would be the perfect time to revisit every main Halo campaign. It's going to be a tough ranking system, but here are the 5 categories. Level design. Are the missions enjoyable and interesting? Enemy design and AI. Do the enemies display intelligent behavior? Are the enemies fun to fight? Weapon sandbox. Is there a diverse and satisfying array of weaponry? How many strategies are viable? Difficulty. Is it fair, balanced, and challenging? Story. How is the quality of the cast, characters, and storytelling? Keep in mind the scale and rating system I use is relevant to the series itself, not to the FPS genre as a whole.
Cortana's our concern now, sir.
Oh man! Oh, damn! I'm getting my ass whooped! Why is this happening to me? But of course, I haven't eaten my Butterfinger yet!
Yes!
That's right, with that smooth chocolatey taste, even you can conquer Halo 2 on Legendary. But that's not all, my friend. If you buy 2 Butterfingers, you'll get an exclusive emblem in Halo Infinite. Buy 8 and you can get up to 4, which you can flex on your friends. Look at this exclusivity! You can redeem those emblems by using the link on screen and in the description. But wait, there's more. Because on their website you can enter for a chance to win a brand spanking new Xbox Series X. Really, Act Man? I just gotta spend $2 and I'll get an exclusive emblem and a shot at a Series X? That's right. Massive thanks to Butterfinger for sponsoring this video, and now, our feature presentation.
All you greenhorns who wanted to see Covenant up close, this is gonna be your lucky day.
We're getting that touchdown and coming out swinging with Halo CE. And though this game is old enough to buy a firearm and smoke tobacco, the campaign itself is timeless. I could honestly just toss up footage of the opening of Halo and leave it at that. Not only are the levels expansive and open, but 9 of them take place on the ring itself. And they got kick-ass names: Truth and Reconciliation, Silent Cartographer, Classic, Assault in the Control Room, Butter Me Raw, 343 Guilty Spark. The meme is true. CE has 9 amazing levels and 1 mental stability test. I can't tell you how many times I booted up this game just for some 2 Betrayals action. Tons of different unique encounters, and best of all is the lack of invisible barriers. You can do some crazy stuff exploring these levels. There's a certain wonder in exploring the ring and all its many secrets. But CE narrowly dodges a perfect score here because of some of the repetitive layouts and copy-pasted rooms. Back in 2001, CE blew everyone away with its amazing AI. And I once said the gameplay is something of a chess match, where each enemy has its unique role. Learning what they do, how they react, is a huge part of winning. The only real complaint is how hunters can be exploited easily. It's so entertaining to watch the AI fight each other, the panicking grunts, bold and brash elites, floaty sentinels, invisible and sword elites, the rush tactics of the Flood. This has been the template for amazing and unique AI design in FPS titles for years, so it's no wonder why CE gets a 10 out of 10 here. While later titles have the advantage of a wider sandbox, Combat Evolved keeps it nice and simple. Unlike in the multiplayer, every weapon is viable even on the hardest difficulty, though you will keep a shotgun handy
For close encounters.
in later levels. One thing to point out that applies to every Halo, and to a broader extent all FPS titles, is the direct correlation between fun factor and how viable the weapons are. If most of the guns suck or aren't usable in most situations, then it takes the fun out of the game. But CE has no problem with that. What can I say? I love blasting through packs of grunts with the assault rifle. 9 out of 10. Now here's where things get interesting, because I think CE has the best tuned difficulty. The one frustrating part about it are these bastards. Rocket launcher flood boys. But unlike the dreaded sniper jackals, there's plenty of ways around these guys, and they don't appear nearly as often. Once you start seeing Spec Ops elites in the 9th and 10th missions though, that's when things get sweaty. On Legendary, the difficulty is tuned to near perfection. It's a true test of skill and mastery. 10 out of 10. Combat Evolved was my first true love. Cortana, Master Chief, Captain Keyes, the Covenant, Flood, and Halo Ring all kick-started my passion for the sci-fi genre. Captain Keyes is pretty cute too. What was that? Containing what is still one of the best twists in gaming, CE's story is unforgettable.
God damn it, Jenkins! Fire your weapon!
There are too many,
Don't
Sarge!
even think about it, Marine.
For the time and even now, the story is amazing and set the foundation for years to come. 10 out of 10.
This is it, baby. Hold me.
And the prophets learn of this, but they will take your head when they learn. Fool. They ordered me to do it.
Ah, Halo 2. A game so unbelievably hyped there was no way it could meet expectations. But in some ways, it exceeded them. Bungie's second attempt at a Halo did not go smoothly, and it's notorious for how excruciating the development was, which clearly took a toll on the staff and the finished product. The levels are amazing from an art style perspective. Most exciting was hopping into High Charity and getting a more extensive look at the Halo Ring's infrastructure. But try taking a shot every time you get stuck in a room or courtyard and have to fend off waves of enemies until a door opens. Also, the levels are much smaller and shorter than CE and frustrating in the same way the library is. Tons of enemies just continue to pour in from all directions, so it can be a real slog to play through. Additionally, most of the vehicle sections are extremely linear with few paths to maneuver around. The levels are decent at best, 6 out of 10. Halo 2 still has pretty good AI, and they made hunters actually imposing. Sword elites are much less threatening, and there's a way to exploit the AI and their melee that wasn't present in CE. Although this is offset by the amazing addition of equipping your allies with weapons of your choice. Not to mention fighting alongside the Covenant as the Arbiter. Are you kidding me? And your allies actually do some damage this time around. It is so awesome, gearing your squad up with the best weapons, and oh my Jesus, you get to fight with hunters. Notable standouts include the addition of the giant vehicle-crushing Sentinel, but because Bungie was built on an Indian burial ground, the rocket launcher flood actually got worse in Halo 2, because they can lock onto your fucking vehicle. Brutes were a huge deal back then, and to be honest, they're just bullet sponges in this game. The biggest problem with 2's enemy design is it has so many enemies that you need to kill immediately, which often leads to you having to memorize their locations, or else 7 out of 10. The enjoyment of the sandbox entirely depends on one question: are you playing on Legendary? If yes, be prepared to use nothing but the plasma pistol, BR, carbine, and snipers. If no, then hell yeah, brother, dual wield those SMGs. Get up close and personal with the sword. Grab 2 needlers and spread that pink mist. I just about crapped myself when I saw Arbiter pull out an energy sword for the first time. And being able to use the fuel rod cannon, something I always wanted. The Gauss Warthog kicks ass, and it was nice seeing more Covenant vehicles. Though the Magnum was neutered, on Heroic, this sandbox kicks ass. 8 out of 10. Unfortunately, trying to play Halo 2 on Legendary is about as fun as getting the mark of shame branded on your nutsack. It pissed me off so much I made an entire video about it. It's decent on Heroic, but I just feel like I can breeze through it without much trouble. The gap between difficulties is astronomical. There's no perfect way to play Halo 2. Bungie also screwed up the melee by making it a one-hit kill on Legendary, which pretty much negates any close-range combat. You can't mess around with Halo 2 Legendary, man. It's do or die. You're either a man or you're not. This was not my grave, but I was welcome in it. One word: Sniper Jackals. 6 out of 10.
Drawn quite a crowd. If they came to hear me beg, they will be disappointed. Are you sure?
What the game lacks in intricate level design and fair challenge, it makes up for with its phenomenal storytelling. Introducing fan-favorite characters like the Arbiter, Artas, Tartarus, the Three Prophets. Man, this story gave us the whole mythology of the Covenant. It gave the Flood more of an identity and purpose. And just when you thought you wouldn't be surprised by the Flood a second time around,
What is that?
the freaking Gravemind shows up. Oh boy, this is the most quotable game in the series.
Kill me or release me, parasite. But do not waste my time with talk.
The voice acting straight fire, and the opening bomb sequence is one of the most iconic scenes in game history. Combat Evolved gave us the basics, but Halo 2 brought the storytelling to a level that the series has since never reached. Easy 10 out of 10. Halo 3. While Halo 2 had much more restrictive closed environments, Halo 3 brings things back to basics and takes it beyond. Levels are massive, filled with tons of allies and enemies. The art direction is gorgeous, with graphics that have aged very well. The sheer amount of paths to your ultimate goal is staggering. The battles here are way more epic than anything we'd ever seen. That part in the arc where you got like 20 Marines and vehicles backing you up, 3 Scorpions, or having 4 Mongooses ride around all with rocket launcher Marines on the back. I could play this all day. Halo 3 may have fewer missions and an overall shorter runtime than CE, but it defines quality over quantity. 10 out of 10. Bungie learned a lot of lessons from Halo 2, making the Flood, Brutes, Drones, and Sniper Jackals far less of a headache to fight.
Nope.
On a technical level, the Scarab functioning as its own independent AI rather than a scripted set piece is
I count 2 scarabs. Repeat, 2 scarabs.
the Flood actually feel like a real horde of space zombies, being brittle but attacking with massive numbers. It's a shame you don't fight elites, but the Brutes more than make up for it. 10 out of 10. Halo 3 boasts the most expansive weapon sandbox in the series, large in part due to the number of dual-wield combos, not to mention heavy weapons and equipment. With all the new additions, shooting aliens in space has never been this fun or satisfying. Equipment added a lot of versatility to some of the encounters, and we got some new vehicles with the Brute Chopper, which can ram enemies and take down vehicles like nobody's business, and the Prowler, which acts as a replacement for the Spectre. There's no end to viable strategies in Halo 3. It's the most fun to experiment with. 10 out of 10. 3 is near perfect in terms of difficulty on Legendary. You can take slightly more damage than you could in 2, but not as much as CE. And with so many allies in most missions, you can rely on them more than ever. The only real problem is Cortana, which, well, I'll leave it at that. But also vehicle sections where on Legendary you can get killed insanely fast. Everything else though feels just right. 9 out of 10.
Were it so easy.
Halo 3 feels shorter than the first 2 games, but it serves as a perfect finale to an outstanding trilogy, capping things off and finishing the arcs of our favorite characters, with Sergeant Johnson, 343 Guilty Spark, the Gravemind, and Truth. It's bittersweet to see how far our cast has come, and it is unfortunate that 2 of the voice actors were swapped out. Some of the dialogue is a bit cheesy and the Gravemind lacks presence in the actual story, but traveling to the Ark, stopping the construction of a new Halo, defying the Gravemind and the Great Journey is an experience I'll never forget. 8.5 out of 10. Bam, bam, bam. Although technically an expansion, we still get set, for a combat drop, and have to count ODST as its own beast. It's probably the shortest of all campaigns, but taking place entirely on Earth as someone other than Chief or the Arbiter? That's ballsy, but it sure paid off, and added some humanity to the Halo universe. Because of this, the levels are pretty cool. Exploring Earth is something we only got a taste of in Halo 2, and the interconnected paths of Mombasa streets was so amazing to explore. The transition between present and flashback was done so well. Level design, 10 out of 10. Not much has really changed about the AI besides the new engineers which act as support units. Of course, there's no Flood or Sentinels to fight, so we got less variety than Halo 3. 8 out of 10. ODST gave us 2 new additions in the form of a silenced SMG and Magnum. Though iconic staples of the orbital drop shock trooper, their function is less than impressive. Had these weapons actually utilized a stealth mechanic, it'd be a totally different story. But if you shoot, your cover is blown, as if they weren't silenced at all. The Magnum is basically the same as Halo 2, and you don't have access to dual wielding. It's still fun as hell, but that's mostly because it's piggybacking off of Halo 3. 7 out of 10.
Phantom's inbound. Why am I not surprised?
A bit more challenging than 3 since the SMG and Magnum don't hit as hard. Also, you don't have regenerating health anymore, which means you can really get screwed over in a tough fight if you're low on health. But you know you aren't a cyborg super soldier, and the gameplay reflects that. Legendary is tough, but I prefer this on heroic. 8 out of 10.
Lord Hood may have given you clearance, but it was my op and it's my interrogation. We only captured 1. It's very delicate.
Don't worry. I know what the alien's like.
It's kind of amazing how so many people consider ODST to have the best story in the series when almost every single character is brand new. It goes to show how incredible the writing and atmosphere is. The ODSTs are such a great group, and we finally got a true romance between Buck and Veronica.
I never thought I'd see you again.
Yeah? Well, here I am.
The audio logs gave an interesting backstory to the Covenant attack on Earth, and it was nice playing as each of these characters on their journey to clean up the streets. However, with its shorter runtime and lower stakes, the story doesn't feel as impactful as previous titles. 8 out of 10. ODST is definitely the oddball of the series and the only game to not feature Master Chief, but it still plays a strong hand with its charming cast of characters and giving us more of that buttery Halo 3 action.
Are you ready for Halo Reach?
Reach was the send-off to Halo's legacy. This was Bungie trying their absolute best to send things out with a bang. And I gotta say, the levels reflect that. You got an outstanding variety with many clear homages to the original. New Alexandria is especially awesome for its combo of Falcon action and boots on the ground gameplay. Exploring the destroyed city was real memorable, and the last mission, hot diggity, what a way to end things. Reach has the perfect combo of variety with jetpacks, vehicles, armor abilities, a dogfight section, and all sorts of experimental levels. 10 out of 10. Reach also includes every Covenant enemy we've seen up to this point, though it ditches the Flood and Sentinels. Brutes are no longer shielded, and elites have taken back their role as your shielded equals. Skirmishers aren't too different from jackals, but their presence is recognized. With all the different types of enemies, Reach creates the biggest and most dynamic encounters in the series. Noble Team will follow you on almost every mission, and you'll get some bonus Marines to boot. Only flaw, Reach's melee system is busted. It comes out too fast and is undodgeable. 9 out of 10. Replacing the classic battle rifle with the DMR was a bold strategy, Cotton, but Reach's sandbox has plenty of reasons to be different. As a prequel, Bungie had an excuse to give us new gadgets with the focus rifle, plasma launcher, plasma repeater, and the iconic grenade launcher. We do have fewer overall vehicles than in Halo 3, but Reach still has a great variety. On Legendary, many strategies are much riskier, but for the most part you can still rely on pretty much anything you can get your hands on. The Revenant and Falcon are big highlights, and I hope they return in Halo Infinite. Because of the fewer tools at your disposal, Reach suffers slightly here. 8 out of 10. Reach's difficulty is interesting. On Legendary, these are the toughest elites in the series. You are not going to have any luck trying to stick them with a plasma grenade. It takes a whole lot of firepower to drain their shields, and you can't get too close because of the one-hit melee kill. They are fast and ruthless. Reach brings back the health pack, but on Legendary it feels more like a hindrance. On Heroic the challenge is pretty good, but not as perfect as CE on Legendary. Reach is fairly low on the bullshit scale, and you should be proud to beat it on the hardest difficulty. 8 out of 10.
And now you're sending us.
The Office of Naval Intelligence believes deployment of a Spartan team is a gross misallocation of valuable resources. I disagree.
The story is pretty divisive among fans, but I adore it. Returning to Reach, the start of the Human Covenant War was perfect. Seeing an older generation of Spartans work as a team really fleshed out their role as super soldiers. Dr. Halsey is also an amazing character who gives us context on Cortana's creation and wraps up the series in a neat little bow. And bringing back Captain Keyes,
real pretty.
You sure know how to milk my nostalgia udders, don't you, Bungie?
Good luck, sir.
Good luck to you, Spartan.
The big complaint tends to be directed at Noble Team, with many claiming they are flat cardboard cutouts. I disagree.
Not grounds, in atmosphere.
One way to get their attention.
And although they don't have nearly enough screen time, their journey in defense of Reach is legendary. Their personalities are unique, fleshed out just enough to make me want to see more of them. 9 out of 10. With its melancholy soundtrack and ending, Reach is an emotional roller coaster for me as a longtime fan. I made it count, George. I really did. May not have as big an arsenal as 3, but its sandbox, AI, level design are all peak Bungie. .343's first attempt at a Halo game wasn't real pretty. Now the levels aren't terrible, but I thought they'd be taller. The missions feel uninspired, and to be honest, I can't recall all of their names like I can with Bungie's games. Requiem is kind of a cool setting, but I don't know how to describe it other than futuristic. Now the Mega Elephant section seems awesome, but it's stifled by being on rails and giving the player no control over its movement. Honestly, nothing really stands out to me or makes me feel like, oh yeah, I gotta replay that. 6 out of 10. Here's where things get screwy. I can't put my finger on it, but all the enemies just don't behave like they used to. Elites have the same fast, unpredictable jankiness that Reach had, but this time you don't have the bonus health like you did in CE. Additionally, the Covenant seem to always use the charged plasma pistol shot, and its accuracy is insane. The inclusion of Prometheans at first seemed interesting, but mechanically they are more annoying than the Flood. The crawlers are just mindless drones while the knights teleport away at random, or teleport in your face and kill you instantly.
Gotcha, bitch!
It's just a nightmare to fight them. I just can't understand why so many of the weapons in Halo 4 have insane tracking ability. It makes dodging behind cover your only option, so gameplay comes down to a snail's pace more often than not. 6 out of 10. Visually, all the Promethean guns are bonkers. Feels like Halo, and it has this weird gravitational design. Unfortunately, the new weapons feels like
something scrambled the insides.
They're either borderline useless or carbon copies of pre-existing weapons. You do have armor abilities, but they're not as useful this time around. The sandbox is redundant and uninteresting, but Halo 4 is crippled by something far worse. Extremely low ammo capacity. One example, the plasma pistol, used to drain 1 energy every 5 shots, now drains 2 energy every shot. And with no dual wielding, you are constantly scrounging for ammo. 4 out of 10. Halo 4 is challenging for all the wrong reasons. Unpredictable AI, bullshit mechanics, useless weapons, and absurd ammo capacity. All these factors make it almost as irritating to play as Halo 2 on Legendary. It's because the game forces you into the same boring playstyle that absolutely cripples a Halo game's Legendary difficulty. Taking out everything from range, being very methodical and slow about it. It lacks all thought and strategy. 5 out of 10.
Give me that chip.
I am ordering you to surrender that AI! No, sir.
I personally didn't enjoy the direction 4 took with the characters or setting, but I can respect it. The subplot of the Forerunners is very confusing if you aren't a lore fanatic, and I do feel like showing the Forerunners kind of ruined the mystery behind them. For what it's worth, the dynamic between Chief and Cortana had a lot more depth.
Before this is all over, promise me you'll figure out which one of us is the machine.
And although we didn't have a clear figure leading the Covenant, no replacement for Arbiter, Sergeant Johnson, Miranda, or Captain Keyes, it's still a decent story for Halo. The Didact was rather unimpressive and his rhetoric felt super cliche, but every now and then I might pop this puppy in just for the story. 7 out of 10. Halo 5 Guardians. Well, this is where things get spicy, for both the story and gameplay. The new mechanics give a type of freedom we've never had before, but in some ways their inclusion makes the level design more boring. Sure, it's got some wide open areas and a few dope locations like saying Helios, that was a big highlight, but no battle ever feels as big as anything we saw in Reach, ODST, or Halo 3. The art design is all kind of samey, and none of the missions take place on an actual Halo ring. 5 out of 10. Well, it's better than 4, sort of. For some reason, all the Covenant enemies feel drastically different to fight against in 343's games than in Bungie's, but besides that, every weapon Prometheans use has some type of lock-on feature. The Needler, Hunter Fuel Rod, Plasma Caster, and so many weapons hone in on the player, so it's tough to dodge even with the dash. Your allies don't help much either, sometimes just hilariously getting stuck in place, and they can't be bothered to unfuck their programming and revive you. The AI is prone to all sorts of glitches, man, big and small. But it's all made up for with the 7 Warden Eternal boss fights. I can't believe how many times they recycled this guy. Prometheans aren't as obnoxious as Halo 2 Sniper Jackals, but they aren't really fun to fight either. I will say shooting the glowy spots was oddly gratifying. Being known for its revolutionary artificial design was what made Halo so enjoyable, but they seem to forget about that in 5. 4 out of 10. Spartan Charge and Ground Pound are neat additions to your arsenal, but for a campaign they don't make a worthy replacement to equipment, armor abilities, or dual wielding. What makes the campaign so tedious is the same problem Halo 4 had, a pitifully low ammo capacity. It's simply not fun to run out of bullets 3 times in every firefight. Weapons perform similar to their past incarnations, but the sound effects lack that classic oomph they once had. 343 did improve the Promethean guns, so I'll give them that. 6 out of 10. Halo 5's challenge suffers from a few fatal flaws. Being balanced as a squad-based shooter. This gives you about as much health as you did in 2 on Legendary, so you're constantly getting gunned down like a rat in Halo 3. Adding onto this the over-reliance on lock-on weapons, bullet-spongy enemies, lack of ammo, Guardians is just tedious, man, and overcoming the challenge doesn't feel satisfying. 6 out of 10. Woof. I've given my piece on the story. Even if my old videos are, well, old and poopy, I stand by many of the points I made. Cortana was our concern now, but maybe she shouldn't have been. Guardians doesn't feel like a Halo game, and it doesn't tell a Halo story. At least 4 had a bit of what we loved about the originals.
Maybe next time you rescue us, you can give us more time to pack?
Next time.
The new direction was promising. Buck was back. This new guy Locke seemed as badass as the Master Chief. They were bringing in Blue Team, the return of Arbiter, Halsey, and Lasky. It looked like all the pieces were there. But what we got was a story that didn't know what it was trying to tell. Is this about the Guardians? Is it about Cortana and Chief's relationship? The new fire teams? Warden Eternal? In the end, most of the characters didn't have anything cool or important to do. Their dialogue was just filler. Most disappointing rivalry in game history. I'd rather be locked up in armor restraints. 3 out of 10. So that's the long and short of it. Of course, my campaign reviews go more in depth on each title, but now it's time to give my final rankings, which is the best Halo campaign. Are you ready, Marines?
Sir, yes, sir!
It should be no surprise that Guardians ranks at number 7. With its poor design, forgettable campaign, and directionless story, it's not only unfun, but aggravating in a way none of the other campaigns are. It kinda derailed the whole franchise and really brought up questions about where the series was headed. At the very least, you can get some enjoyment out of it, but Guardians doesn't excel in any way. It's better than a few COD campaigns, I'll give it that, but without a doubt, it's the weakest in the franchise, and I have no desire to replay it.
Fuck you! Fuck you!
Coming in at numero 6. Putting Halo 4 here might get me some flack, but I can't forgive how Chief and Cortana were written. The challenge and gameplay loop is terribly monotonous, which all but kills any enjoyment the game could have had. I will say it's worth playing just to see Master Chief and Cortana's relationship evolve, even if it is over-dramatized. Definitely has the weakest gameplay in the series, but it's got some redemption through its story. Halo 4 has the best emotional weight. The last 5 slots were hard to place, but the reason I put ODST here is mostly because of its status as an expansion. It's not as long and borrows most of its elements from Halo 3. Of course, it is a kick-ass expansion and the cast of characters are memorable as hell. Jumpers. It features some of the most unique level design with Mombasa streets. You know, I could live in a world without ODST, but I wouldn't want to. This game has the best soundtrack and atmosphere. At number 4, it's the last hurrah, Reach, which is the perfect send-off. We had a huge variety of weapons, enemies, and tactics to use, and Reach's soundtrack is a close second to ODST's. The story of Noble Team was a tragic tale that'll always make me shed a tear or two. A bittersweet ending to a fantastic series. It's got its flaws, but amongst the franchise, it's definitely worth replaying a whole lot. Reach has the best graphics and art style. It was a tough call whether Halo 2 or Reach should get the 3rd spot, but I am just a sucker for this dialogue, man. The character dynamics are incredible. Halo 2 has the best writing in the franchise by far. The gameplay, a disappointing follow-up to CE, and it's borderline psychotic to play this on Legendary. But even though it lacks a balance with its challenge, the story makes it all worth it. The story is simply unbeatable. Halo 3 is well deserving of spot number 2. It offers the most variety of any Halo with the vast amount of enemies, weapons, and vehicles. There's 1,000 ways to beat these levels, and Halo 3 in my book lacks the one thing that would have brought it to the top spot. Halo 3 has the best ending and replay value. If you know anything about me, you expected Combat Evolve at the top, and that's because it has all the great elements of the other games, except the difficulty on Legendary is as perfect as it's ever going to get. There is no better challenge, no satisfaction greater than what Combat Evolved offers. It is a true test of skill for FPS fans, and the narrative stands strong alongside its sequels. There is always something special about Bungie's first Halo, and it's the purest out of them all. I give it the top spot because it has, in my book, the fewest flaws.
Coming here was reckless. You two know better than this. Thanks.
So there you have it. Combat Evolved is the king. Hope you enjoy the video. Share your own rankings in the comments below. Big shout out to all my patrons and anyone who bought awesome Actman apparel. Yes, the merch store has opened. Check it out. And while you're at it, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Join the Act Clan Discord server too. Just be an Act fan. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Act Man signing out. Peace!